Join me today to learn if Martha Wells was able to step it up a level for book 2 of the Murderbot Diaries, Artificial Condition. Because sequels, man. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, a show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. I'm Jim, the father of this show. Thanks for being here with me as I bring a book review to you. Spoiler-Lite won't ruin it for you. If you enjoy what I have for you today, be sure to give me a like. Does my heart some good. And join, subscribe. We'd love to have you seeing all the stuff we bring out just for your entertainment and education. So this is about Artificial Condition by Martha Wells, book 2 of the Murderbot Diaries. This came out in 2018 and is science fiction leaning into the cyberpunk subgenre. Now, why did I read this book? Okay, this is easy. There's twofold reasons. First, once I start a series, I prefer to complete it. So it was very natural for me to move on to the second book of the Murderbot Diaries. The one exception is when I don't care for the first book. But the opposite happened here. I freaking loved book 1, All Systems Red. In fact, I changed my original reading plan so as to immediately begin Artificial Condition the moment I finished book 1. The setting of this story, again, it's taking place in a futuristic universe where interstellar travel and highly advanced technologies are commonplace. The story picks up just a little while after the end of the previous one, with our protagonist, Murderbot, traveling to and engaged in activities at a mining facility, the site of the mysterious incident to which it is tied, referenced in the previous book, an event that left dozens of people dead. So, partly the story takes place in space. It's a travel story. And the rest of it is centered on this mining facility. The fact that we aren't simply planet bound this time around is a large element of the narrative, a very good one. Once again, everything feels authentic and natural about this fantastical space-based setting. That's pretty incredible. All these elements just feed into the fun of the book, and I give a strong 5 out of 5 rating for setting. Now, the Spoiler-Lite Summary. Murderbot is free, but also on the lam. In corporate-held space, a sec unit like Murderbot is property, rented out to various clients for specific security and protection details. But our protagonist was bought. The contract was bought out at the end of the last book, and basically, Murderbot was given freedom. What would you like to do? You can be anything you want to be. In a section of space where constructs like Murderbot are considered autonomous entities. Woohoo! But our protagonist decides, instead of sticking around with the one who bought this freedom, where, Murderbot is welcome to be part of the family and be treasured, Murderbot takes initiative and took off. Thus, it fears it may be discovered at any time and is trying to fly under the radar, pretending to just be another augmented human. In this story, Murderbot is going back to the scene of the crime, that pivotal event in its history that led to it originally hacking its governor module and going rogue. It doesn't know truly what happened back then. It thinks it knows, but it's a little hazy. And Murderbot feels the need for answers. So this is the journey to find those answers, along with adventures that Murderbot will experience along the way. High on that list of adventures is its interaction with art, another artificial intelligence that ends up adding tremendously to the enjoyment of this book. Murderbot will also end up with new clients, entirely by Murderbot's choice, who ironically are even more naive than its previous clients, which leads to more outrageous happenstances in this book. As for the plot depth, this book introduces new layers to the mystery as Murderbot is seeking to puzzle out its own past, which is great for us as readers because we're trying to puzzle it out as well. It's obvious not everything is as we once thought. At the same time, the current time plot events are great, as we again enjoy Murderbot's perspective on people making lousy decisions, which it will strive to protect them from the full consequences of. I found in many cases, the good guys are obviously good, and the bad guys are obviously bad, but humorously, that only applied to humans. The complexity of AI interactions is a whole additional level, which certainly enriches this plot. I will give plot depth a 4 out of 5. There wasn't much that surprised me here in this story. It's fairly predictable in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean it wasn't thoroughly enjoyable, because it was. Talking about characters, Murderbot continues to drive the show with this novel, and the more time we spend with this character, watching Martha Wells growing Murderbot's sense of self, the more we just adore it. But the shining star of characters in this story is art. Now, art is an acronym the name Murderbot gives to this AI, which he ends up spending significant time with in the novel, and I would love to tell you what art stands for. But I think that is too spoilery. If you haven't read this yet, I want you to discover what art stands for yourself. The humans in the story remain background characters, really. They're the foundation upon which the truest and most interesting character work takes place. But what Martha Wells is doing with Murderbot and the evolution of artificial intelligence, it's magnificent. But the character work just gets a 4 out of 5 due to my inability to believe the people of the story can really be that stupid. Now, even as I write that, I have this nagging suspicion they're not really that stupid. I'm just seeing it from Murderbot's perspective. But still, I know what I know, so 4 out of 5, which is still pretty darn good. Writing style, Martha Wells continues to channel this story through the perspective of Murderbot, and it works brilliantly. Our perception of other entities is quite colored by Murderbot's superiority and fragile self-image. Being first-person driven, we only know what Murderbot knows, and that adds to the interest of the story and often brings in high entertainment. The story is well written, technically, with great pacing, a high energy narrative, and a pleasing rise and fall to the reading experience. All in all, this style is fantastic for the person who picks up this book, and I'm happy to score it a 5 out of 5. As for themes, we continue with the theme of self-discovery and identity as highlighted in the first book. Murderbot's quest for the truth of the past leads to questions about its identity, its sense of autonomy, and what it really means to be a person, regardless of the actual physical makeup of the being. We also have the theme of human-AI relationships. This is a clear theme of this story, just as it was in the previous one, but now we're spending time not just with human and AI relationships, but AI to AI relationships, which are a whole nother level of complexity. How far can one trust another? What does it take to be able to truly depend on others? Deep questions. The final theme that jumps out for me is corporate ethics. Again, Martha Wells is writing commentary on the heartless, profit-driven decisions of corporations, which sadly many people these days are very familiar with. She examines the moral implications of doing whatever it takes to achieve corporate goals, including treating people and AI entities as little more than cogs in a wheel, chess pieces to be played and sacrificed when the goals warrant it. For warnings, well, violence and death are in this story. Just as in the first book, the perspective on that is quite moderated as you perceive it all through Murderbot's unique point of view, but still it's there. Other elements that are unavoidable in the story that could trigger for some people are gun violence, murder, assault, prostitution, though that one's not actually seen, it's just referenced, kidnapping, and explosions. So a whole bunch of minor little things. With all that I listed there, it's amazing still how surprisingly light and enjoyable the tone of this story is. Martha Wells has done a marvelous job. For my rating, I give this one a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed this read, and I'm eager for more in the Murderbot Diaries narrative. This has been a lot of fun. How about you? Have you read Artificial Condition? Do you have thoughts on this book or the Murderbot Diaries as a whole? I'd love to hear them. Put them down in the comment box. And anything you want to give me feedback on specific things I said in this book, I'm always open to that too. Don't forget, like and subscribe, and look down in the show notes. All the other ways you can interact with my son Zach and I are listed there for you. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.